they all underpin the world we're in. Dynamic movement of societies who want to have a freer expression of their opportunities, which is not a modern day phenomenon. That's part and parcel of what's been going on, and it will continue for some time. And then how are we going to feed this large population? And how are we going to accommodate and adapt to a much freer movement of people around the world from different ethnic, cultural and religious backgrounds to ourselves? Because that will happen as well. Because we will need those workers and taxpayers to achieve the goals that we want to achieve. So when I read on the paper the other day that the great city fathers and the great super city, or somebody has produced a report to take the cars off Queen Street, I said that's a very good idea because that will be needed for the mobility scooters. Because there's going to be an awful lot of mobility scooters out there, and they'll need a bit of space. So I thought that was a very, very sensible idea. There is no shortage of possibilities in answering these questions. The energy space has a range of possibilities. Some are further out, some are today with us. Denmark produces 21% of its energy, its electricity by wind now. I think the enormous possibility of tidal energy is yet to be remotely tackled. It's been around for 50 years in various forms, but the tides come and go with a relentless and monotonous regularity, and it's massive energy, and we will capture those with better and more efficient technology. You can produce biofuels out of algae, waste, in vast amounts. You should not produce biofuels out of corn, the most inefficient, most expensive use of land and water that the world could think of, and yet they're subsidising it massively to be produced in the United States. What we have to do if we want to invest and subsidise anything is science to help produce the answers. One answer it won't produce, however, in substantive sense, and that is the challenge of water. When I said a few years back in some remarks I made internationally that there would be more wars over water than over oil, many thought my observation was an exaggeration at least, and perhaps quite mad at first. Not any longer. We are now aware that the world is not short of land, the world is short of water. And yes, desalination can help, so science can help if you have the enormous energy resources needed to run a desalination plant. But the management of water, which New Zealand is just starting to address, is high, I think, a very high priority. So what is happening? Because this is known. What is happening? In fact, it leads us to the current New Zealand debate, the ownership of productive farmland and who should own it. The International Food Policy Research Institute, which is based in Washington, 3 or 4 years back, 2006-09, found that China obtained 2.8 million hectares of foreign land for agricultural purposes in that period. South Korea, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and many others put hundreds of thousands of hectares of land around the world, Africa, Eastern Europe, and so on, and reaching into developed societies like ours. They're not buying that land to transfer technology. They're not buying that land because they're short of land. They're buying that land to get access to water. Because they can do the arithmetic and say, look, there's going to be this enormous demand for food. How do we secure some of the food for ourselves? I've used in other audiences, it is in some ways another form, a modern form of colonisation. This time, it's not gold they're seeking, it is water. And that has all sorts of policy implications for New Zealand, which I have no doubt the Prime Minister and his team and others will be working on. But I think we should all endorse John Key's remarks of a few weeks back, or a few months now, when he correctly said, in my view, that we don't want to be tenants. We don't want to be tenants in our own land. That doesn't mean the policy options are easy. It just means the principle, I think, has been very well stated and that they should be listened to. I said earlier, my optimism relies a lot on science. So I want to conclude by just noting this, that the Stone Age didn't end because of a lack of stones. It was replaced because then known science developed a better way to meet people's needs. Our generation and our successive generations can also develop better ways. Thank you very much.